Okay, so you can see I've got my cylinder head a lot cleaner than it was. I've got my plug hole tapped out to M14 by 1.25, so it's time to start putting it together. I apologize for any noise. The neighbor has decided that right now is a good time to go up and rev up his Hyundai for no apparent reason. So I apologize if you can hear that. I'll put the gasket on. And then the head cover. And then the washers. And my gasket set did come with 4 copper washers, but they're very small. So I'm going to try with one of the old copper washers. You only need the one on this head stud because this is the one the oil travels up. So I'm going to try reusing it, and if I have problems I'll change it out. But this stud gets a cap nut, and the other 3 just get standard washers with open nuts. Why? I don't know. That is how it goes. Got some clean engine oil on here, just a little something to keep it lubed. So disregard that last part. The cam gear goes on first and then you slide the cam through that. So I'm going to set my crank at top dead. So I am very dumb. The cam gear goes on before you slide the cylinder head down. Thankfully, I had a spare head gasket. So the old guys say you can reuse these copper gaskets once. I don't know how true that is. Never tried it. I had a spare, so I'm using it. So I don't know how well you can see it, but that's the timing mark. There's the notch in the head, and on the cam gear, right in line with this bolt hole, there's a little circle. So that's what you got to line up with. And then there's the pointer down on the stator. So I'm just setting my points timing. I got my point gap set, and you can see my ohm meter up here. It's reading, closed, points closed right now. As I come around, I'm going to pass the F mark on the flywheel, and they should open right there. Oh, there's my F mark, and we're still closed. Much further do we have to go? Okay, so we're a couple degrees off. I'm just going to loosen these two points fixing screws here. Nope, too much. Try that. Again, as I come around the F mark, ooh, dead on. That's looking good. Okay, so here we are. I got frame painted, motor together in. I got it sparking. My wiring harness is run. fuel tanks run, battery boxes in. I have enough wiring to work, make it work. Had it sparking. I've got my triple clamps and my handlebars on, just so I have the run switch. I wanted to hook up the throttle, but the cable is a little bit too short, so I've just pulled it out of the twisty bit, so I can work a little bit of throttle by pulling the cable, and I'll have to figure out a cable, but that's no matter. So I'm going to bring it down off the bench here, pour a little bit of gas in the carb and see what happens. Also, I've decided on an accent color for the little trim pieces, and it's going to be that dark kind of gunmetal gray. I think it contrasts pretty well. Okay, so it's been a couple of weeks, I'm not quite sure where I left off. Got the motors in the frame, I got mostly electrical in there. I've got an intermittent spark thing I'm trying to track down, but kind of a pain in the butt to kick over when it's just kind of sitting on the stand, so I'm going to throw the suspension and the wheels back on it. Got the triples in here, and doing the steering bearings without the fork tubes in place is probably the easiest way I've found to do it. Every other time I've done it, I've tried to do it with fork tubes, wheels, and it's a real pain in the ass. But with just the triple, it's really easy. Okay, so it's been, I don't know, a couple weeks, but I finally got a new coil in. The ST90 here. I don't know if you can see it down there. It's new, and I've got, just to eliminate any possibilities, I've got my battery power going straight into the coil, the negative from the coil going straight into the points wire, and I haven't put a condenser in yet, but I will, and I'm going to run it off the side of the head like the 110s are, rather than on the side of the coil, just because it's a little easier to get to. But now, if all goes well, I should have spark. Oh, I should plug the battery in first. Usually helps. Nice and blue, looks pretty consistent. I don't know how well that shows on camera, but it looks good, much better than it did before, so the coil solved their problem. So let's get that in, see if it fires. Wrapped around the sprocket.
Oh.
Lovely. Okay, so as you just saw, it's running. Since then, I've kind of made a little bracket for my 2-in-1 petcock, except my fuel line's too large. This 1/4-inch automotive line. I'm going to try some 3/16 motorcycle line with a thinner wall. Something like this, but a little bit bigger. That'll fit on the tank. Because I can't fit 2 of these 1/4-inch lines on this petcock right now. Too close together, so I'm going to change that. I can't seem to get a good tune out of this carb. I might have a vacuum leak, but I think it's way too much carb. This is like a 22 mil carb. It's just what I had around. And the hole in the intake is much smaller than that, so I have a smaller carb somewhere. I gotta find it, but I'll try that. But that pretty much wraps it up for this video. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the wait. I hope you enjoyed.